Hello, I'm Ryan Face, and welcome to Chapter 3 of Brothers. Now, with Chapter 3, I'm going to make Brothers a playlist, which will hopefully be in the description if I remember. If I can remember. If I can't remember, please comment at me until I fix it. Anyway, just got to make sure everything is good. Well, I'm going to say that this chapter is a little bit shorter than the previous chapters. After all, this chapter was written entirely recently. None of it was written before. So, I really hope you enjoy it. Chapter 3. Mistaken. We're sorry, ma'am, but there's nothing more we can do. He's wrong. Let us know if he contacts you. He can do something else for me. We'll let you know if anything else happens. He can stop suspecting my son of murder. He hasn't come back. Will tries to move again, but finds that he still can't. I remember my brother talking to me. He left for some reason. Why isn't he back? For what feels like the 100th time, his throat fails to make a sound when he tries to scream. Why is it hard to remember? There's no movement as Will tries to look around. Nothing at all. Everything feels wrong. A knock sounds out from the door in front of Will. I'm coming in. A doctor walks in. It's one of the actors from City of Duality. That's so cool. How's our little mystery chef doing this morning? Why is he... That can't be. No movement from the eyes staring at the doctor. No movement of Will's arms. No movement of Will running. And his throat still makes no sound. I'm misremembering. This can't be the show. He's not my doctor. The doctor gets closer. I don't have to be scared. He's just a volunteer. He's just a celebrity volunteering at the local hospital. The doctor pulls out a syringe. Here's your medicine. The medicine for everybody. Oh God. Images flash through Will's head of a daring protagonist's escape. The show's way of showing how dangerous a violent shift could be. It's that episode. Move, please. Everything feels like it's in the wrong place. Please, somebody. No noise exits his mouth. Why don't you respond, little shift? Why don't you respond? Respond! Doctor's getting red in the face. He's beginning to get red everywhere. He slams the door behind him. Respond! He throws a clipboard at Will, which hits an arm. Pain. A fair distance from where he hit me. Will tries to move the area where he felt pain and finds it responding. He tries to move his legs as if they were close to his body and swings them over the side of the bed, just in time to avoid the doctor's poisoned needle. He screams for help and hears somebody else's voice come out. Help! Somebody! A beeline is made for the door with the violent shift right behind Will. The door opens the wrong way, knocking him to the ground. Blank-faced doctors enter the room and surround Will, picking him up and moving him back to the bed. The violent shift gives a confused laugh before approaching once again. Medicine for everyone. Help, somebody! How did they stop him again? Please, it's a violent shift. They didn't. They just ran. John, please be there. The door bursts open and all the blank-faced doctors are gone in an instant. There stands Serenity, the female protagonist. Will gasps. This is really happening. Over here, Serenity screams. A metal canister hits the side of the former doctor's face. He turns and growls. Over here! What am I doing? Serenity books it down the hallway as the violent shift crashes into the wall behind her. Medicine. The doctor's engorged arms grab for Serenity as his red, misshapen face screams barely formed words. You need. A swipe from the doctor misses Serenity as she bangs on a door. Reese, run! books it down the hallway and turns to run down the stairs, catching a brief glimpse of what's behind her. The violent shift, now as tall as the hallway, barely recognizable. Behind him, the little girl who had screamed. She's running the other direction. Good. Heavy thumps cover the sound of frantic footsteps as Serenity jumps down the stairs 2 steps at a time. Behind her, Reese is screaming something, but the words are easily drowned out. Concrete cracks in time with heavy footsteps. I'm about to die. We need to make it out the front doors. Reese screams from beside her. Serenity stops, but is jerked forward by Reese, who is still holding her hand. She continues running, but creases her forehead. I don't understand. The front door draws closer as the heavy footsteps behind them get louder. Swiped air brushes against Serenity's back as the handle to the door draws closer to her fingertips. If I can just make it. The handle is pushed aside by Reese as he and Serenity burst through the door, followed closely by the sound of shattering glass. They both turn their heads as the distance grows between them and the doors, then stop. The shift isn't able to get past the doorframe, twisted metal binding it. Red and green liquid pours out from his outstretched hand. Blood and poison. The giant stumbles as its arm goes slack. Its hand releases the remains of several needles and their contents. There's only a slight creak as the shift slumps against the metal doorframe, and the former doctor huffs out a final breath. Behind them, a small thump sounds. Serenity and Reese turn around and see the girl from before fallen to the ground. I'm alive. Reflections of what was supposed to happen flash through Will's head. Reese and Serenity are in the room together. A pit forms in his stomach. They heard a loud scream from the room over. He gags and clutches his head. The scream, a girl's scream, was cut off. He looks at his hands, a stranger's hands, and realizes, I'm supposed to be dead. He looks up and sees Reese and Serenity. She gets back up and walks over to them. I need your help. Will looks down at the stranger's hands. But I can't let them know. John wakes up. He looks around and swivels his head. His hands touch everything around him in a hurry. None of it is recognizable. He throws a gray blanket off of him and stares at his hands. The ground beneath his hands transitions to stairs, then an entryway, and then a doorknob. His hands move the doorknob out of the way. He looks up and he runs. I'm not where I'm supposed to be. I'm not where I'm supposed to be. I'm not where I'm supposed to be. He runs forward, then stops. I need to think. Wood presses against his shoulder as he leans against the doorway. He bolts upright and moves a foot back inside. That's how far I ran. A hand grabs his shoulder. Are you okay? Both feet exit the doorway immediately. No. John's head fills with static. 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 John's head is on the ground, letting a slow but steady drip of blood onto the cement. Footsteps behind me. They're hesitant, almost as if the owner is trying not to scare something away. It looks like he reopened the wound. I'm Lynn. I know you're scared, but I'm only trying to help. Wrong words when there aren't any right ones. On his legs, drifting from side to side, John begins walking away. Walking. He stops. I need to think and plan. I can't just walk back to memories rushing into his brain from a sharp pain stuck in his head. I need to get back to Will. He turns around and distance has broken. Far away is close as far away. Everything is focusing and refocusing. Then I'm pain from underneath him as the view shifts. Barely noticeable. John tries to back away with his hands, but they slip on the smooth surface of the ground beneath. Pain From his lower back, as it overextends, he's lying flat on the smooth glass. He rolls over and falls as he crawls back to where he was. The ground offers no purchase as progress is made. John touches gravel and it stops. He looks up and sees Lynn staring. I need to focus. I have to get back to Will. He opens his mouth. Lynn, I need your help. The stranger, the terrified stranger, falls to the ground. That's the only thing that still makes sense. There must be. He had walked past the sidewalk where there still should have been plenty. He had appeared to be every distance away at once. He was falling and not going the right and wrong direction for milliseconds worth of hours. And now he's at my feet. She moves to jostle him, then stops. What if he runs again? Moving back. Lynn falls into the sky. She reaches out in a panic and grabs onto the stranger as she is pulled along the ground. So, you called me here for a reason? Yeah, Lynn takes a sip from coffee, then looks around in a panic. The person across from her looks worried. Is there something wrong? The person across from her is talking. A woman in conspicuous civilian's clothes. The detective. Lynn glances over her shoulder and sees the stranger from before right behind her. The detective clears her throat. Don't worry. Nobody followed you or me. Then turns back around. Sure, how did I get here? The detective looks surprised. You were sitting here when I arrived. I wouldn't know. Then grasp at whatever mental straws her mind can dredge up. I was dragged here, but I was also waiting to talk to the detective? Something clicks in her mind. Serenity was shot at, so maybe? Serenity was shot. The detective calmly picks up her case and fishes out a few photos. I know. That's why I made sure to bring these along. She shows one and then stares. That's Serenity and Reese! She blanches as she takes a better look. That's Serenity and Reese being approached from all sides by scary-looking people. The detective takes the photo back and hands out another one, this time of Serenity entering a creepy back alley. I only told you to watch your friend for a couple days, but I'm going to need to tell you why now. Lynn's mind is struggling. This isn't important. I need to figure out what's going on. Yet, she feels overwhelmed by the need to take the next photo the detective hands her. Okay, maybe this is important too, but what's going on here? The photo shows a hooded figure of a different height, stepping out of the alley, face obscured in the gloom. The detective calmly collects the photo. We suspect your friend of being a violent shift, taking drugs to calm herself. The detective points back at the photo and at a seemingly random bystander. This is a well-known drug seller who we've been tracking. Very dangerous as well, as I'm sure your friend found out last night. They've been seen in the area at roughly the same time every week. We need to be sure we weren't mistaken, but now the force is certain. The detective has complete attention of Lynn. Serenity shift? That doesn't make sense. I saw her last night. I was there at the shifting time. She didn't shift. Serenity screams. She isn't a shift. She isn't taking those drugs. She can't be. I saw her last night and you can't disprove that. There are rare cases of people shifting outside of the regular time. Lynn stops. Words form in her mouth, but none present themselves to be said. There's too much. Too much all at once. This is bull. This is complete bull. Yet she can't say so. Not out loud. None of it is enough. none of it could possibly be enough. So she just shakes her head silently and says a single word. No. The detective gets up. Well, I still have things to do and people to talk to, but I leave you with a warning. As I'm sure you know, the police will get their files in order and apprehend your friends soon. I suggest you get away from all of this before that happens. Lynn stays silent as the detective gets up and walks away. She clenches her fist in anger until she lets go and looks up. I didn't even call you here. Why am I here? She lowers her head to the table and bangs at once. Why would I rat out my friend like that? John is staying very still and silent as can be. The blank-faced gray thing in front of him has been doing the same. A mixture of joy, terror, and confusion runs through him all at once. Why am I suddenly here? Okay. That was chapter 3. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, please tell me why. This is a chapter I wrote over the course of a couple weeks, I think. And without a lot of time to dedicate to writing, I'm not sure of the quality of this one. I really like it. There's a lot here that I wanted to go forward and say, but I'm not sure if I did the best job of it. So, if you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments. Please remind me to make that playlist if I haven't already. And please remember to always be awesome, always be kind, and always be random. See ya.